The original Prince of Persia trilogy ends here. With the new dimension comes new features. You've got all the new platforming options you'd expect, puzzles that are more complex than stand on button to open door, and even the combat has gotten a facelift. For some reason we no longer have the shadow powers from the last game, but I'm quite sure it takes place after Shadow and Flame, otherwise they relied too heavily on unrelated story. One thing that may turn players away is the Buggy Nature. Red Orb was having financial issues and pushed the game out the door with only a few patches to follow. I had only a handful of crashes myself, most were from the end of level 13. The end code seems to be completely borked. Even if I try to cheat to skip, the level crashes, meaning I had to warp to each level thereafter. So if I suddenly have 3 max health for the last part of the video, that's why. But nothing serious enough to ruin my fun. I'll get my only real complaint out of the way. Health is not refilled between levels, which makes the game unnecessarily difficult, especially in the mid to late game where healing pots are less common for some reason. I'm unsure if this was a deliberate design choice or just a small oversight, but you know, it is what it is. As for the story, the prince is begrudgingly attending a party being hosted by Hassan, the Sultan's brother, when Shantae starts murdering the guards. The prince is captured and the brothers have a civil discussion about stuff and things.
Traitor! I will have you!
My dear brother, your tongue betrays a forgetful mind.
Turns out the brothers made a pact. The Sultan's daughter would wed Hassan's son Ragnar when she comes of age. But he let some clumsy oaf marry her for killing the vizier, which we had to redo because the prince didn't do it properly the first time. We're tossed into a dungeon, which like Pop Classic can be escaped with literally no effort 2 seconds after arrival. And like Pop Classic, we don't have a weapon to start with, and it takes a good bit of work to acquire one in this game. Combat is still a one-on-one affair. You still strike and parry, except you can strike left, right or up. Blocking is sort of a timing minigame. Enemies can feign attacks and the prince won't readjust automatically, so you gotta block and unblock like crazy if you want to survive. You can also feign attacks, but the input is so specific that it isn't worth the effort. Well, it's probably my favorite part of the game, despite the game's stinginess regarding health potions. On top of that, you have 3 melee weapons to collect and use. Each weapon has its quirks. The sword can chain 2 hits together from different directions, the dagger can do this unblockable attack, and the staff can follow up with a strong strike if the enemy parries the first blow. But we only have the sword for now, so let's move on. The first level showcases some, but not all of the new toys we get to play with. We get swimming, sneaky platforming, plenty of traps, and a puzzle that will eat your face when you fail. The levels themselves aren't long, but like its predecessors, there's some trial and error. However, this game lets you save almost anywhere, so getting booted to the checkpoint over and over is not as painful. In the Ivory Tower, we get the only non-melee weapon from this guy, who's nice enough to give a demonstration. He hands it over and does a tasteful dive into the nearby pool.
Too bad he missed the pool.
The bow is mainly for chipping away at enemies before you fight them, but it's also used in 1 or 2 puzzles throughout the game. It supports different types of ammo, but there aren't enough arrows to kill every enemy, so do be aware of that. The game also starts showcasing more traps. Thankfully, traps are pretty obvious for the most part. You can usually spot them early, but some are well hidden and may score an easy kill on you if you aren't careful. We have to go through the cistern to get to the palace where the Sultan is still chilling out. I just want to take a moment to mention the music. It's more ambient than the loud music in the DOS games, and it really helps set the tone for the game. I'm still going to use the Sands of Time song for the finale, but this music is good too. The palace is heavy on the platforming, and we get to play with a new potion that lets us leap huge distances temporarily. Then it becomes a bit more claustrophobic, more traps and fights to keep us busy. By the end we run into Shantae from the intro. We chase her through the rest of the palace for a boss fight. She's actually a pretty tough fight, even with our newly acquired double daggers. It took a few attempts. Once she's dead we can confront the brothers. The Sultan explains the situation, but Hassan is having none of it.
No! Come quick! That beggar has killed the Sultan! Forgive me. As I die, so dies the pact with my brother. Go.
So we trek across the rooftops towards the dirigible. Along the way we run into the princess and Ragnar.
Slay the beggar. Be certain he never leaves this place alive. Go!
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Ragnar is a tiger man for some reason. I'm sure that it's explained somewhere. Just give me a minute. Yeah, it says here that his mutant form is never directly referenced. His dad is normal, but he may have just boned a Bengal tiger, I don't know. Wait, Ragnar? Oh shit, I've been calling him Ragnar this whole time. Well, Tony the Tiger is running off with the princess and he sent his assassin to stop us. He'd probably be a tough fight if his AI didn't let me get half his HP for free. The dirigible's on the other side of the docks, and for whatever reason every random citizen wants to kill the prince. This marks the start of the weaker parts in the game. There are fewer fights because of all these pirate lads ganging up on you, and wouldn't figure out multi-enemy combat for this franchise until the next game. The platforming is okay. I don't know why this sewer has so many traps. Maybe to call the fish monsters. Just use double daggers and stab them when they get close. There's even a big one and it looks like a boss fight is coming, but the double dagger's special attack just turns them into fish sticks. By now the game has gotten a bit stingy with healing, so any damage taken throughout this level is likely stuck, and the docks ends with these two archers taking potshots at you. The prince just barely makes it onto the dirigible, hot on the heels of Ragnar and the princess. The dirigible is 90% climbing, the rest is fighting the Alcazim brothers. There's a few of them, and each one you kill results in the next one having more health. One of them you don't even have to fight. Watch, this is hilarious. Technically you don't have to fight the last one either, you can just dump his ass down a few stories with this lever from the get-go. Sadly, this makes us lose our weapons no matter how the fight ends, but that's okay, this long stick should do nicely for now. We continue climbing, even doing a little bit of super jumping, until we reach the top of the dirigible where Ragnar is waiting. After the fight, he just nabs the princess on Griffin back and the dirigible is taken down by Mother Nature. One Deus Ex Machina later, we end up on the floating ruins, which is more climbing. Hooray. Look guys, I wouldn't complain about all the climbing if this game let me do something other than climb upwards for 8 damn levels. I don't know, make us climb down something? Every level is climb up the thing to get to the top. Why not down? Variety, people! Even the other two Prince of Persias had you going up and down. Sure, they only had 4 directions to work with, but come on! Speaking of variety, we do get to play with the jumping potion again. I do appreciate that it's not just a one-time gimmick, because this is a treat. We find the mythical Lamassu, who takes us to the outskirts of Ragnar's domain, which is guarded by demons. Yes, demons. And one strange beast. The game starts getting good again with this stage, because we aren't climbing upwards for 4 hours. The penultimate stages are the Sun and Moon temples, and it's probably the best part of the game. The Moon Temple especially has this huge puzzle with reflecting light beams and opening up areas. There aren't too many combat encounters, and the platforming... oh my gosh, the platforming. excellent level. Sure, it's right at the end before the final boss, but I can't complain, it's so good. Speaking of final bosses, Ragnar has dragged the princess to the top and has strapped her to the gears. I haven't mentioned this, but pretty much all the cutscenes between them are him trying to get in her pants and her ignoring him, or chopping his freaking arms off. At least she isn't helpless.
Blech.
With Ragnar's defeat, the couple fly off into the sunset, leaving a dead Sultan and unpunished Hassan. Actually, yeah, this ending is a tad shite. This is a really good game. Despite the buggy nature of the game, it is fun. It took everything I liked about Shadow and Flame and made it bigger. I wish the villains got more screen time. Once the Sultan is killed, Hassan just kinda goes home because he no longer factors into the story. But Tiger Dude was actually cool. I feel like we need a Ragnar Easter egg in the new Sands of Time or something. Wait. Have I been calling him Ragnar this whole time instead of Ragnar? Son of a bitch.